You are extraordinarily welcome, Rowan Hand, your host. Through for another hour and a quarter. It's the morning programme out of Destination Newry. Delighted to welcome Anne Turley into studio. How are you
Thank
this
you.
morning?
Morning.
Your husband, John Turley, and Sean O'Hare, local gardening aficionado, a man of excellence there, from the Careve Garden Centre out at Fort Hill. Is that Careve Grove? What a lovely romantic name, Careve Grove, I tell you. And you are the daughter of Patrick Hanratty, the great plantsman of Newry Daisy Hill Nursery.
That's
and
right.
You have been now for some years with Sean and the great assistance of John, your husband, running the annual Newry and Mourne garden competition. And we're in that time again.
That's correct, yes.
Tell us about it, Anne.
Yes, well, this cup was put up in memory of my late father, who was known as Paddy of Daisy Hill, the manager of Daisy Hill for quite some number of years.
Yes, yeah.
Retired in
He
retired in the 70s, the mid-70s.
Does a plantsman ever really retire?
Oh, no, not really.
I'd say he would have been planting away at home.
Planting
and
at home.
Things like that.
And keeping everybody on their toes.
But that's sitting there. It's fine there.
This garden competition was, this is the 6th, 7th year in.
I remember doing the first year with you.
That's correct.
On the radio station.
That's correct.
Would you tell me where time goes?
Time's flying.
Absolutely.
We're all getting a lot older.
Well, no, not
But
that much.
it is growing from strength to strength.
Yeah.
And we're, with the assistance of Sean here, who I couldn't work without, we're getting there by degrees.
But sure, isn't it a great tribute to Paddy, your daddy?
It is,
That's
yes.
a poem, to Paddy, your daddy.
Yeah, that's
it's a great
true,
tribute.
that's true.
And John, husband of Anne, do you lose her at this time every year? She becomes immersed in gardening things.
She's all into the garden, and I have to go along with whatever.
What a wise man you are. I learned long ago that that's the only way to do things, you know. Sean, you're the man with the expertise, in a sense. Did you ever meet Mr. Hanratty?
No, I didn't meet him, but I met I would have known as protege now, Peter McCann.
Yes,
Peter
of
worked
course.
under him. He lives in Meadow there in Newry. So I actually did work in Daisy Hill there for a year back in the early 90s, like late 80s, I suppose it was really, when it was still running. But obviously it's just it's a park now.
Yeah,
and
I have the greatest.
And there's houses on it.
Yeah, I have the greatest memory of going into the tomato house when the tomato plants were growing individually in their lino containers, and the mist of the spray there, and Peter going along and your daddy going along and side shooting the tomatoes.
That's correct.
And the smell, the most wonderful aroma was there, and much of what you do now found its kind of encouragement from the work of Peter McCann.
Yeah, well, Peter, I mean, I suppose really gardening has changed so much really over the years, really, like, back then, there wouldn't have been as much TV or media interest really in it because, people were more concerned about just making a living and putting bread on the table, and, gardening has become a lot more fashionable these days, and your garden is seen as an outdoor space that you relax in.
Yes.
Or maybe in days gone by, like maybe my grandparents, you would have had a vegetable garden and maybe a few shrubs and flowers, but maybe not necessarily have a kind of a design garden or a patio area or a decking. So it has really changed. But I suppose the nuts and bolts of gardening are still there in terms of it's somebody who's interested in getting outside, relaxation. They just love being outside, having their hands in the soil.
In your work at Careve Grove, will you design a garden for people?
I don't generally go into designing gardens that much myself, but I would give advice really on it. I wouldn't necessarily do a plan.
Yes.
My specialist area would be more growing plants and sort of
the plants that you're going to put into the garden
and the retail end of it really. That's my background really more.
And you, as a little, I'm just trying to visualize your house when you were a little girl. Daddy was going out in the morning, maybe with his lunch under his arm for the day, going up to the nursery. Daisy Hill Nursery was part and parcel of your household.
Oh, yes, yes.
How did that find expression? What was it like?
Well, what was it like? as you talked about the tomatoes, well, we had quite a big garden at the back, and it
He had a
was-
garden at home as well.
Oh yes, we had a garden.
You'd
and-
think he would have been trying to escape his work, but that wasn't his nature. He
No,
loved his work.
We had the large greenhouse.
Yeah.
It was called in those days, and it was laid out in tomatoes, and it grew enough. We grew enough tomatoes. We had to go out and water the tomatoes and take the side shoots
Yeah.
off, as you say, and then they went. Most of them went for sale
Yes.
in the local shops.
Yeah.
And then we had lettuce a different time of the year, all under glass. Well, I did my turn at that sort of work.
You looked after it.
Yes, I did. Yes.
You thinned the
Yes,
lettuce.
and then he would. My father would have taken us away to these very high-powered gardens to look around. And
Wow. Powers Court being one of them.
Yes, all those different places,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
where we went.
But am I right in thinking that your dad, Patrick Hanratty, started down the Warren Point Road? Was that nursery down there?
No.
Maybe that's when. That's
No,
when Daisy
no.
Hill Nursery.
No.
The first time that plants were seriously grown in Newry.
Mm-hmm.
Many years before your dad's time.
Yeah.
There was a down the Warren Point Road place
Oh, right,
that started, but that's another story.
No, Daisy Hill. He took Daisy Hill over in the 40s,
Yeah.
mid 40s, and he became manager then. And they exhibited in Chelsea,
Yeah.
Chelsea Flower Show. He was judge at Balmoral. Well, then there was the Newry show came up in years after that, and he was always very busy.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
So this year you're back to the Newry show because you will be presenting the Garden Prize at the Newry show out at the rugby, the new showgrounds.
The
out
new
at rugby
showgrounds,
ground.
yeah, this year is Newry show. This is the first year now out in the rugby grounds out at Derelicky on the Mayo Bridge Road. So
You'll
that's
be there
new grounds.
presenting new grounds.
Yeah, we'll be here.
Yeah.
We'll be there presenting the cup.
Sean, who won it? What sort of garden won it last year?
It was a garden in Warren Point. What was the names again?
What kind of garden was
It
it?
was a small garden, like, but there was lots of little areas in it. You know, and there was what we call, I suppose, you may call it almost little rooms in the
Yes.
garden, like,
Yeah.
and you're getting lots of little surprises. So it kind of like really struck us that there was a lot of thought went into it, and there was nice design in that, and the plants were amazing. So, I mean, we do have a criteria, like, we just don't go in and say,
What is that criteria?
well, I can't really discuss that much because it's really kind of unfair, really, because.
Yeah.
But
Small is acceptable, large is
yeah,
acceptable.
any size of garden really at all. There's no bigger advantage if you've got a bigger garden rather than a smaller garden, and obviously there is a first, second, and third prize. So I would encourage people to enter, no matter what size of garden you have, because if you're not in, you can't win.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Gardening, but you're making your living from it with a garden centre.
I am,
So
yes.
gardening is now gone to a new level because people, as you say, they're regarding their garden as another space to fill and to
Yes,
live in.
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose, it's like everything really. If you could do a job that you actually love and you like, it's a lot more pleasurable. There's plenty of people out there that don't like their jobs, and I love what I do. Like, and you have to have an interest and a passion, and I like dealing with people. Like, and I've worked in other places as well. Like, before I set up my own business as well.
Of course.
So I have that background behind me. Like, and I'm like very fortunate. Like, well, I suppose at the end of the day, you reap what you sow.
And you
The plant-
do
the
what you
plant-
love.
You do
because
what you
there's no
love,
point in working at what doesn't make you happy.
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody has to make a living,
Absolutely.
So, but sure, you get enough to do, like,
Yeah.
so.
Have you a garden yourself?
We have, yes, we have a pretty fair-sized garden now, but I must say John does all the heavy work. I gave a few instructions of what should be here, there, and everywhere.
John, what's new? Woman.
I carry out
You do the heavy work. I heard it there
Yes,
from my ears.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you do the heavy work.
Yeah.
I give a few instructions.
Yes, that's right.
How kind of you. It's marvellous. Yeah.
You're on with the head, all the wee pots.
Oh,
I'll water them.
it's
and-
constant, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's a constant thing. So when are you going to do the judge? You'll be the closing date is the 24th of.
Of
June.
June.
Yes.
June.
How do people apply?
Well, people can simply apply if there's any people there who aren't sure about the internet or whatever. Maybe get one of their family to do it. But the easiest way to apply really is just to email us.
What's your email?
Either at Cariff Grove Nursery. That's CARRIVEGROVE Nursery NURSERY @hotmail.com, or Sally Gardens Design @gmail.com.
Sally Gardens Design
That would
at
be
Gmail.
the other judge is Sally Gray from Moygannon
Oh, yeah.
Nursery and Garden Centre,
Excellent, excellent.
and Linda Thompson there as well. They actually sponsor the competition along with myself.
Okay. So give the people
thanks to them for their
yeah,
involvement
but
as
give
well.
the people those addresses again so they
That's
can make sure.
That's Cariff Grove Nursery @hotmail.com, or Sally Gardens Design @gmail.com.
Okay, so, and that's apply before the 24th of June, and then between the 24th and the 28th of June, you will judge the
The
gardens.
other thing as well is that obviously if you could take a couple of pictures of your garden, and you obviously email them to us with your name and address, your telephone number, so that obviously we can contact you, because we might have to shortlist some people.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But
So we need a photograph as well, don't forget.
couple of pictures would be
that'll
very
help.
helpful.
That'll help.
So,
and then the prize will be awarded, the cup will be awarded at the Newry, as we used to call it, the horseshoe.
The horse show.
yeah, there's a
It's a Newry
first,
agriculture.
Newry ag-
sorry, Rowan to interject, there's a first, second and third, so the cup is the first prize. They actually get a voucher
Yeah.
as well from one of the garden centres, and then there's a second and third prize that either divided between the two garden centres as well. So like there is 3 opportunities there
Okay.
to win something.
Get your skates on, time to do it. The weather is right for you, and into the garden, because you're closer to God in a garden than anywhere else on earth. Is that what they say?
That's right.
Thank you very much for
right.
coming in.
Thank
indeed.
you.
We play
Thank-
some music now.
Thank you for
well
having
done.
us.
Not
Yeah.
at
Thank
all.
you.
You're welcome.